Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd and this is my review of the movie The Invisible Man 2020. And I think it's impossible to talk about this movie without going into spoilers, so be warned of spoilers. And I think this is a movie that I probably would have enjoyed a lot more if I didn't know anything about it, if I didn't know the title of it, if I didn't see the trailer, if I had just stumbled upon it on TV and started watching without knowing anything, I probably would have liked it a lot more because of that whole mystery element, which of course the trailer and the title of the movie totally gave away all the surprises basically. So if you were to watch this movie not knowing anything at all, then it could be like a thriller, mystery, psychological kind of movie that you don't know if the main character is crazy or not. And so that whole element is something I really like in a lot of movies. Best examples are probably Shutter Island and Total Recall and movies like that, in which you can ask the question if the main character is imagining everything or not. And there's an element like that in Terminator 2, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I think it could have been even better if at the beginning of the movie we only saw everything from the point of view of Sarah Connor, and maybe we would be wondering if maybe she imagined it all, if she's crazy or not, and only then discover that she's not. And so I love those kinds of elements in movies, and we have something like this here, in which the main character is thinking that she's been stalked by her supposedly dead husband, who was abusive. But as we know from the title and the trailer, he actually has an invisibility suit and he actually is stalking her, and we the audience know that from the beginning, and so we know that she's not really crazy. But the whole way it's been done to make her go crazy, and at some point she's even in a mental hospital and no one believes her and all of that. So I think it would have been better if the movie itself was more ambiguous, so that we the audience also would be guessing, is it really happening or not, is she crazy or not, and only toward the end we'll know for sure. So that would have made it better. So I think it could have been a lot better, but I still enjoyed this movie for what it was. It was a nice kind of science fiction horror movie, and unlike many horror movies, I actually cared about the characters. They did a good job kind of setting up all the characters. Some of them are people that you start to care for them, you care about what happens to them. At least some of them you're on their side because they show that they're good people and all of that, and so you are worried about them in the movie. The special effects are decent, there's nothing really amazing, I think they could have done more with it, but I did like a lot of moments of special effects. And it's a horror movie, and I think it's okay for horror movies to be a little bit silly, but most of this movie was pretty serious, pretty realistic, you could say, and there were all kinds of jump scares, but they were not done just to make a jump scare, but it was always part of the plot, part of the story, and it was done in the places that it should be done. So there was never any jump scare that was kind of fooling you. So something scares you, oh no, it's nothing, it's just a jump scare. So there was none of that here. All the jump scares were part of the story in an organic way, so I like that. And I was enjoying this movie, but somewhere toward the end it started, I guess it wanted to add all kinds of twists, all kinds of surprises, and so it added a twist which I did like, and it was well set up. But then the final scene, that's what kind of annoyed me, because, okay, this will be a major spoiler. So in the end of the movie, it turns out that the bad guy's brother was actually the one in the suit, at least some of the time, and they say that the one we thought was the villain was actually also a victim, that he was locked up in a basement by his brother, who is now dead, and that guy is innocent. But of course we suspect that he's just faking it all, that he was controlling his brother, and so he is the villain, but we don't know for sure. And maybe the movie wanted to be ambiguous, maybe it wanted the ending to be not so clear, that we'll be discussing is he really guilty or not. So I guess that's what they were trying to do. But if you think about it, it makes no sense that he is innocent, because the brother didn't have that motive of stalking the wife and abusing her and all of that. Only the husband had that motive. So why would the brother do that if not for that? So I guess because he wanted the money, but if he wanted the money, he could have just killed her and then got all the inheritance. He didn't need to sign her on anything. So why did he try to set her up and all of that? So it wouldn't make any sense if it was only the brother being the villain. And that's why it doesn't really work as an ambiguous ending, which could have been interesting. If we didn't know for sure was that guy guilty or not, then it would be interesting. But we basically know for sure that he is really guilty and only pretending he's not in the end. And also, you know, the whole movie sets him up as some kind of genius, that he's such a perfectionist, that he's so powerful and he's so clever. So how the hell did he miss the fact that there's a hidden compartment in that bedroom where she hid the other suit and used it in the end? How could he not have checked it? How did he not know that it's there? I mean, he knew that the suit went missing, right? So he must have known that she hid it somewhere. So how come he never checked it? And so stuff like that is kind of ruining the movie a little bit. And also the fact that she basically turned into a killer in the end and she did it so easily makes no sense. I mean, I like the idea of her becoming powerful and overcoming all those, everything that happens to her. It's kind of like Sarah Connor becoming a badass after nearly going crazy because of what happened to her. So I like the basic idea of it, but it was just so abruptly done. I mean, 1 second she's like a total wreck, and the next scene she's suddenly a super powerful killer with no remorse, and she kills that husband, but makes it look like he killed himself because she wore the suit in the end. But when did she suddenly become so powerful? I mean, when the husband was supposedly killing people easily, I was fine with that because I assume he was a psychopath who probably killed a lot of people in the past, and so for him it was nothing, so he can easily do that with no problem. But she never killed anyone, and suddenly she can so easily kill that guy who was so powerful across the whole movie, if he was indeed guilty. So it makes no sense unless the suit gives you some kind of extra abilities. It's not just invisibility, but it also makes you super powerful, which is another problem I had earlier when they showed that the invisible guy was beating up a bunch of cops and guards with ease and throwing them around the room as if he's super powerful. So that was also a little bit fishy, but I just presume that guy must be super strong. He's probably working out, and then in the end we see him and he's kind of like a puny guy, like he's not really muscular. And so when they showed him in the end, he just wasn't threatening at all. And again, it would have worked if they kept it ambiguous, meaning if they implied that maybe he wasn't guilty after all and she killed him for nothing, then it could have been interesting. It could have been like a dark ending of the main character becoming the villain. But they didn't do that. And so how could she so easily kill him if they showed him previously that he's so strong? And suddenly she's stronger than him and she's able to kill him so easily. Unless the suit itself gives you extra abilities, it makes no sense. And so I didn't really like the ending of this movie. And also I didn't like that the message of the movie was that it's okay to kill him, even though she had no evidence, she had no proof, and we don't know for sure was he really guilty or not. And yet she killed him just in case and took the suit for herself. So she basically became the villain, which could have been a good ending, meaning an ending I would like if it was kind of set up more properly and if it played on the whole controversial kind of was he guilty or not, did she go nuts for real in the end, did she now become the villain? That could have been cool, but the way they did it, it's like, no, she's the victim and she took charge of her life and she killed her abuser, and that's a good thing. So this whole ending felt a little bit almost, woke, the thing that people complain about nowadays in movies about females being all powerful and defeating all the men and all of that, and all the men being bad. The way she killed her husband in the end to be free, and then she walks out smiling, and that's how the movie ends. That was a little bit creepy, not in a good way, in a kind of stupid way, the way they did it. So I didn't really like the ending, but most of the movie was good in my opinion. I wish it had a little bit more special effects, a little bit more playing around with the whole idea of invisibility, which they did do a little bit, but I think they could have done more. And especially when she realized, how can she detect when he's in the room or not. And she started using all kinds of stuff to find him, to know if he comes for her. And so I wish they would have done a little bit more with that. So I didn't really like that ending, but I enjoyed most of the movie until that point. And I like the fact that it's scientifically plausible, meaning it's not some magical ability to become invisible, but it's actually a suit with cameras that is simply projecting the image, so it's like a cloaking device. So it's something that might be possible in the future, so that's a cool idea to play with. So this is not like that older Invisible Man movie, which I also remember seeing, but in that movie they simply somehow made him transparent. So the villain had to inject himself with something to become transparent for a few hours, and then he came back to normal, and that was a little bit sillier, scientifically speaking. And in this movie it's more plausible, so I like that. So overall I enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's amazing, it's not great, but it's pretty good. So that's my review. Let me know what you think and we can discuss it in the comment section below. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye.